welcome everybody to another conversation around what's happening in education and COVID-19. And I'm joined today with Andrew Mead, principal from Hanover School Division in Manitoba. And Andy is one of those principals that you probably want to pay attention to on social media just because of his a very strong focus on relationships and connecting with kids, and that's something I always appreciate about his leadership. But Andy, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more specifically and tell us exactly where you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Andy Mead. I'm a principal at Mitchell Middle School in Hanover. It's a grade 5 to 8 school. Really nice school and building, great teachers, great kids. It's about 45 minutes away from where I live. I live in Oak Bank. This town is in Mitchell. I've been a principal going on 10 years now, and had a chance to move out to Hanover a few years ago, and it's been really good.
And your wife is also a teacher, and so she's doing this full time as well, and she's teaching in the city.
She is. She teaches in River East Transcona. She teaches some grade 3, and she's also a teacher librarian, which really means tech support for a lot of teachers right now. She's spending a lot of her day helping teachers manage how to do all this stuff online. She's doing a pretty great job.
So that leads me to the question, Manitoba teachers, what are they being asked to do in the next little while? What's their job right now?
Well, to speak for all Manitoba teachers might be tough, but I can definitely say what we're doing at our school is the biggest thing that we're trying to do is just, as you sort of mentioned before, is maintain the relationship with kids. We're pretty lucky in Hanover that we're a Google-based school. We have tons of technology. We gave out close to 200 iPads and or Chromebooks to families before this all started, the at-home learning stuff. So we've been able to maintain some pretty good contact with kids on a regular basis, just through Google Meet, Google Chat, you name it. So that was my biggest push, is the work we can figure out, but how do we manage the relationships? And through some face-to-face contact, regular ongoing contact with kids, we've been able to maintain most of our kids going forward in some way.
So what would you say, do you have any sort of, like, first of all, what did you say the size of the school was? How many students?
We're at about 345, 340-ish or so.
So what, how many of those students' families have you just really struggled to contact and connect with in any way?
Right now on my radar, I've got less than 10.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I think that's a probably better percentage than most people. Everybody's got those people, and the challenge of it is, like, people have done everything they can, from phone calls to driving by to knocking on doors, everything. And there's just some people for whom, for a variety of reasons, are just not able to connect with. And it's just sort of one of the things that we see fall through the cracks, but there's really not much we can do. But what have you appreciated, and I want to talk to you about your own leadership, but from being a principal in this district, what have you appreciated in terms of messaging from the folks that you report to and the district all around, the messaging that's really comforted you during this time?
Yeah, they've been great. We're all sort of, none of us really know what we're doing in this stuff, but the stuff that they do are really doing well. Is the communication has been fantastic. So as soon as they know something, they generally share it with us pretty quickly, and it's pretty fair. And it's just lots of positive. When there's challenges, it's not an attack. They come from a place of caring, compassion, and just trying to help each other and figure this out together. So that's been the best part, is just we're all sort of doing this together, and it's all brand new, and there's not a ton of pressure, but they all know that we're just doing our best.
So what does your day look like?
Well, Manitoba was interesting because we had the week before spring break. They said, 2 weeks before spring break, the province said classes are going to be canceled beginning the week prior to the break. But we had a week before that where we all knew this was happening. So it was kind of like the twilight zone the week before the break, and then the week after the break, where that was 2 weeks for sure that we knew we were going to be in classes. And then during that time, we were told after that first week after the break, it was going to be suspended indefinitely. So we sort of had in our mind that we could be going back shortly after the break. So we had that 2 week window of, this is what we have to do, with a sort of be prepared to go back or be prepared to do this longer. So we sort of had a 2-part plan. Was the 2 week twilight zone, and then the longer term planning. So that's that's where we're at right now. Is we're in that longer term. We're in the starting our 5th week of this, and it's going.
So what do you do day to day though? Like what's an average day look like for you?
Well, just going back to the previous point, my previous part was I actually had some kids that I was really worried about for the first 2 weeks. That I was concerned that they weren't going to engage. So I put them on my caseload. And my job was just basically like a teacher. I was contacting kids every single day, helping them with their work, doing what I could to help them. But then the more I did of that, the less of what I could really have to do with my job sort of lessened. And at some point I had to give up those kids. So the first 2 weeks was, I was kind of like a teacher. And then after that, it's been, I gave those kids back to the teachers. I check in with teachers every single day. I've got a schedule. So the grade 5 teachers, I check in Monday, Tuesdays, the grade 6 teachers, and so on and so on. So I check in with them. And then I've got all this stuff planning for next year, like building a schedule, school plans, and looking at data and all that sort of stuff. And then there's sort of the stuff that comes up throughout the day, contact with parents, contact with kids, contact with teachers that come up. So there's never really a dull moment. I'm going from the time I wake up till the time I end, and trying to help out a 3 and 5-year-old at the same time.
Yeah, and how are your teachers doing in general?
I think it's been okay. There is some families that are, or some teachers that they just have some personal stuff going on. That's if classes were normal, it would be hard. So there's that element, but overall things have stayed pretty positive because they're having that ongoing interaction with kids. Like they can see their kids. I think that's been a big help, that they've got some hope saying that, yeah, I'm still teaching my kids. I'm still seeing them almost every day. So that's been a good thing for their mental health, I think.
Any sort of good, fun, interesting learning the stories that have come out of this from a student or a teacher that you felt, well, that was kind of made you smile?
Yeah, there's been lots. I created a learning at home hub for our school, just sort of the one-stop shop for all of our online learning, right when this all started. And on that, I created it started out being a daily challenge, but it turned into a weekly challenge because I don't want to overwhelm kids. And with these little daily challenges, I get some of the most fabulous responses from kids, just the most creative, silly, goofy things that I just giggle at. And our challenge this past week was it's a show your hair challenge, because no one's had contact with a barber for the past 5 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm one of the lucky ones. I don't really have to worry about that. So I use that. What's that app that you used to use all the time with the split screen? The
Oh
split
yeah,
screen.
the clone split
Right.
lens. Yeah.
So I did a little video of half myself like this, half video like this, and I put on a silly wig in the other half and said, had a conversation with myself, say, show your hair and be goofy. And I got some just wonderful responses from families with these kids, just with giant hair. It's hilarious.
And again, those are the, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this, about like those are the moments that we miss, like those connections off with sort of the seamless minutia or nonsense kind of things. But those are the things that really bind us together and give us a reason to want to hang out and be together in a building. So thinking of ways to maintain that as sort of, I don't want to say artificial, but it's not quite the same, but it certainly helps as you kind of think about moving forward. What are you most concerned about in terms of the challenges long term? I mean, a lot of the things you have in place they're working for now, and they'll be okay for now. But you talked about planning for fall. You don't really know what fall is going to look like. So, what are you most concerned about long term?
Yeah, personally, do we plan for a regular startup, or do we plan for something that we don't even know what that looks like yet? That's a challenge. So you don't want to sink a whole bunch of time into making a school schedule when the school schedule doesn't make sense. So that's my issue. I think for my staff, the longer term issue is just how do we maintain the momentum that we've created? What happens when it starts to be 25, 27 degrees outside and kids want to be outside playing? They don't want to be sitting behind a computer doing some schoolwork. So how do we maintain that connection with kids and maintain the work that they're doing, and it's not overwhelming? And the families that maybe are struggling, when do they say, forget it, I'm done? How do we keep those kids going too, and those families going? That's where my brain is right now.
And then again, thinking long term, what do you sort of hope lasts when it comes to this? Because again, I've heard a lot of people talk about a lot of different things that they've experienced and they're reflecting on. They say, I hope this, the normal doesn't go back to exactly what it was, and I hope the things that some of these things will maintain and stay and maybe even change the way school thinks of itself or does things. So what are those things that you say, I really hope this actually lasts or makes a difference in positive change?
Well, for sure. I think just the focus on relationships. We're not talking about tests. We're not talking about marking. We're talking about learning and seeing how to communicate that learning in different ways. I think that's super fun and nice. Um, I think another big part of this is the personalization of this. Like we have some families that we've had to change things up quite a bit for. So we've been really been able to personalize what this has looked like for them over the past few weeks. And how can we continue that when we're all back in this full time, all at school together? How do we make it good just for that unique situation?
Absolutely. So last question is, think just something fun as you think about sort of your daily routine and you've got the 3 and the 5-year-old and your wife teaching. Tell me about a moment when you're doing something and you just look around, you say, yeah, this is completely weird or surreal in some way. What's
Oh
that?
yeah,
What's that look like?
it was last week. I set up. We have a treadmill downstairs, and I'm stagnant. I sit down all day long, which I just hate. But so I set up a treadmill, and I set up a workstation on the treadmill, like a little. It's just a 2x4 plus a plywood with a covering, so I can put my laptop on there. So kids are watching a movie, or one of my kids watching a movie. One of my kids is doing an obstacle course in the basement. I'm walking on the treadmill while doing a Google Meet with another teacher. So we've got like 300 things going on, and there's 3 of us there. So it was just I was just looking around going, what is going on here? But we figured it out, right? It went well for at least 3 minutes, and that was a good success.
So the background music to that would have been.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a day in the life of my typical day. So, but it was neat. It was like here's a chance to try something different. We did it, and it worked.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
most of the things do. That's just the thing. They work and they work for a short while, and then we have to. Okay, so that now we have to change it up because we have to do something new. And I think that's probably typical of most of our educators and most of the students too, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you find little bits of success, but I mean, and that's why we don't think that any of this stuff will last in its current form because otherwise they would just do homeschooling as it is, and they're realizing that that's just not the option for most people, and most people want to be together and they want to experience those times together.
For sure, and making the clarification that we're not really doing homeschooling, right? This is
Sure.
not homeschooling. This is figuring something out as we go and doing your best, and this is learning as much as you possibly can in crazy situations. So, I think I sent that message to parents quite a bit. Say this isn't school. This is just doing your best, and I think that's helped them relax a little bit. And when we all get back, we'll figure it out.
Well, I appreciate your time and appreciate your insights and the work that you do in Manitoba, and hopefully we'll get together one of these days and maybe play a little golf.
Love to.
All
Just
right, take care.
yeah, you too.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Dean.